So you've decided to take a cruise. That's great. Welcome aboard. As anyone who has taken a cruise can tell you, there's always new things you can learn to make your cruise better, whether you're a first-time cruiser or a veteran cruiser. I am on board Carnival Vista now, cruising at the National Conference with a group of cruise travel professionals from Cruise One and DreamVacations and Cruises Inc. And I thought I would take an opportunity to ask a few of them some of their best advice so they can help you have your best cruise vacation ever. Let's go hear what they have to say.
I've learned is, you prepare for the unexpected. So I usually have at least like one sweater, a long sleeve shirt, a short sleeve shirt, one dress shirt, at least one of each thing, so that when you get to, if something's happening, whether it's a formal night or it's cool on the ship or unseasonably cold in a certain location, you're not without. If you're gonna have to purchase something on the ship, it can get expensive, or on the island. So, you don't want to overpack, but having at least one thing for each incident or scenario that could happen.
I also tell people, try to roll things so you can fit things in and they don't wrinkle as much. Some people know how to do that,
right?
Others don't. But and also if you buy those compression bags,
right,
then you can fit a lot more into one suitcase.
And as far as anything that you need to bring with you that may not be available on the ship, the main thing is the strip, a power strip. But you have to make sure it's not the power strips, the long ones that we use at home and in offices. Get the ones that are called travel strips, because some cruise lines will not allow you to have the regular power strips on board.
Unpack right away. Make sure you put your suitcases under the bed. Get them out of the way. Make sure you have stuff that you're going to need on a daily basis in one area, so your go-to area.
For me, I personally really love the cabins all the way at the back of at the deck that overlook the aft as we're leaving. That cuts the wind, as you can see. It's extremely windy on the sides, and that way there's no wind and you just have this amazingly beautiful view behind you.
It's very individualized. A lot of first-time cruisers, I like to put midship, mid-deck. In terms of the levels, midway, and in terms of the length of the ship, midship. My favorite cabins are actually aft, balconies aft, because you have the wake of the ship that you're looking at and gorgeous sunsets. So for those people who have been on a ship before or who are more adventurous.
The best advice for my first time was patience on the first day, right? And understanding that there are 1,000 people trying to get through like one or two entrances onto the ship, and everybody's very eager to get on. It's really being patient. You'll get on the ship. And then the other thing was, once you get on the ship, the elevators can get very, very busy. So what I have found, once I get on, if there is opportunity on the elevator, if not, I take the hike up to the very top deck. Very first thing I do is go to the very top of the deck, because it's the least packed place initially, and then it's much easier to explore the ship as you work your way down. So that's always the first thing I've done, is I take my carry-on, we get on, and I go right to the top of the ship. And then while everybody's trying to work their way up through the elevators, I just gradually work my way down.
You have a head start on learning the layout.
And learn the layout of the ship, and sometimes some of the buffets or restaurants may be having, some food you can stop and eat. A lot of people will go directly to that buffet, but I've just always gone right to the top and start exploring where things are, then eventually you work your way, this floor has the spa, so check out the spa. So I find that first day while you're waiting for your cabin to be ready, I find a good way to explore the ship is to kind of, just let gravity help you and just work your way from the top down the ship, and then you're not all tired. You get that first initial, I got to get to the top of the ship, but once you're up there, you're kind of, not really fighting to move around with everybody else, because once people disperse, you don't really, but that in the first day it's a lot of people.
Remember that you will not see your bags that you leave at the pier for a while. They may come a half an hour after you get on board. They may not come until after dinner, which could be 7 or 8 p.m. So you need to be sure in the bag that you carry on, you have anything that you need between those hours. Just like when you're flying on a plane, medication, your sunblock, your swimwear, anything you might need if you want to change for dinner. So it's best to get everything that you need for that first period of time on the ship and carry it on with you.
So when you get on board the ship, everybody just swarms into the buffet. Okay, it can be a little unnerving, a little daunting, because everybody's there fighting to get food. And there's always other places on board the ship where you can have a more intimate, less hectic experience. So, for example, on this ship, it's either Guy Fiero's Gourmet Burgers, it's Blue Iguana Cantina, and Seafood Shack, for example, especially Seafood Shack because there's an upcharge.
Well, dining is really very flexible now. It used to be classic dining. You're assigned a table and a time, and you have to be with this group that you don't know. It's very flexible now. You can decide, I want to meet strangers, that's why I'm here. I'm a very social person, and I want a huge table and meet different people every night. Or you can say, it's romantic, and I really just want a table for two by the window. You can do it at your own time on many cruise lines, or you can be assigned an early or late. The difference is when you want to do the shows, is the way I look at it. So if you do an early dining, you're going to have all night to do shows and entertainment. If you do a late dining, it really cuts your show time. You either have to go early to all the shows, and a lot of people don't want to just get up and go to shows once they're back on ship. And then you don't have a lot of time after if you take a really long, leisurely dinner.
If you know you're going to overindulge, get up in the morning and walk around the deck. Or there's fitness centers now on board, all kinds of equipment. So, that will help you out if you're one of those who has to indulge in the ice cream and the pizza and all of that every night, and the burgers. So just make sure you get up and walk it off.
They can go into the buffet and they can eat out at the Tides bar with these gorgeous views outdoors. So I find a lot of people don't realize that. On most ships they have that right outside the buffet. They have more intimate tables, and sometimes they'll have a separate buffet line.
There are food restrictions that cruise lines are aware of now, and they will accommodate you for the most part. I haven't had one client yet that said they couldn't accommodate my requirement. Peanut allergies, gluten-free. They have things on the menu that can help you, and some of the cruise lines you can check ahead of time and let them know that you're coming, and the chef will be prepared for you, because we know, like for some of the allergies, you actually can't touch certain foods in order for you to eat that food. So the chef will prepare certain meals for you, just for you. Ask your agent to get in touch with them, find out who you need to speak to, if you need to write a letter, write an email to someone so that they know what your particular allergy is. Unless you're one of those who, if you're vegetarian, you don't have any issues. Now, cruise lines have the Asian restaurants, and they have food on the menu. I mean, look at Carnival, an Indian dish every night that's strictly rice and vegetables. Right, and there's on a cruise ship, you can eat, there are always times when you can eat salads. So I like that, because sometimes after I'm cruising for 3 or 4 days, I get tired of eating food, but I like a nice salad.
On some ships, especially the larger Norwegian ships and Royal Caribbean ships, it's really important to make reservations ahead of time, both for specialty dining as well as complimentary dining. And people say, well, Norwegian is freestyle. I thought I didn't have to. But you don't.
If you want to wait in a line.
But yes, but if you don't want to wait in a line, we can do all this online as soon as it becomes available.
I know some of the cruise lines, guard certain things that they won't, but the way I've always looked at it, it doesn't hurt to ask, and oftentimes you'd be surprised. You have a 50% chance of getting a yes if you ask. You have a 100% chance of getting a no if you don't ask, right? So, and I know, for example, with the Carnival, if you're very interested in their chocolate lava cake, you ask for it, they happily will give you the recipe for it. Well, I think it's participating in a lot of the events, in activities that are going on. So if they're playing games or other events and you're a very interactive person, it's a great way to meet people, but at the same time they often give away free drinks or maybe a free excursion, or and you eventually get to know what happens. You'll see the experienced cruisers will be in the front and they know when to, but really participating in the ship activities can gain you like some free perks. The more you cruise, the more you participate, you're piling up those points in terms of that loyalty, so that when you do future cruises, you might get an automatic onboard credit or a free drink package or something else just for being the 4th time, 5th time that you've been on that particular cruise line. And even with some of the cruise lines where they've partnered together, your loyalty can bounce between. So it's not just specific to that ship, but through that, sometimes that corporation itself.
Solo travelers have it a little more difficult with pricing. There are very few cruise lines that give one berth pricing to solos, so you end up having to pay either 1.5 or 2 sometimes for 2 people in your cabin. But there's a lot of ways to meet people. I'm actually here solo this week, and I have had tons of fun and met lots of people, and there are a lot of other solo cruisers, so you always meet people.
Some of the cruise lines actually have solo space, where there's designated areas specifically for those who are traveling alone, whether it's a group of cabins that are all solo sailors. They have activities, and even cruise lines or cruise ships that don't have specifically solo cabins but know there are solo people, they'll have solo activities. So tonight at a certain location, it'll be a meet and greet for solo travelers. So there are activities that are for solos, and especially if you know in advance that you're going with a solo by yourself, then you can find either that cruise line, cruise ship that may have more of what you would be looking for to travel on your own.
People who have a little hesitation about the motion, it's better to be in the middle of the ship and in the middle deck. So that's the very least motion on the deck.
I always suggest for first-time cruisers, if they can take the Dramamine or bring the C-bands, to use them first. And then if they're feeling okay, because you're going to feel some motion anyway, but depending on how you are, because if you don't take the Dramamine before sailing, so many hours before sailing, and you are one of those people, it's going to affect you. So you have to decide, do I just want to go on and do it to see what's going to happen, or do I want to wait and see what's going to happen and then take the pill? So there's really no rhyme or reason for that. It's a personal decision as to whether the person wants to do it ahead of time. It's just research it and find out what it's all about and what do you need. If you're bringing something on board, bring it on board. But we know guest services and the medical facility will always have something to help you. They don't carry the patch, but they do have the pills, and they carry the C-bands, I believe, in the shops.
So what I always tell my clients is that you should definitely look at the cruise line excursions, but when you find something that you like, or if it's not there, something that you want to do, email me and tell me what the excursion is, and then I can check a bunch of different suppliers to make sure that they're getting the very best excursion at the best price, the best value. Usually when you book with the cruise line, it's seamless. You all go together from the ship, but you're in a big bus full of people. So when you do excursions from other suppliers, many times it's much smaller. You might be in a van with just a few people. Sometimes I've had clients who booked and they were all alone, so it was really private, and they didn't realize it was going to be private because they booked a price that was not.
The best pricing I found is either the first day, because they're not getting a lot of clients at that time, or sometime on on port days. The day that they go into port, they'll have specials because the spa knows most people are not going to book that day. So they'll have special rates for people who do decide to stay on board, and they'll have special rates for them. But all during the week, make sure that you look at the papers that they leave in your cabin, because the spa shops will always have some kind of special, but you may not know what day that is. But always just check your papers, make sure that you've read all of the newspapers, the little fun times or whatever they call it, because you'll see that the night before.
So you let us know ahead of time, and I work with a company called Special Needs at Sea. We set up whatever you need, whatever tools are on board. Also, the cruise lines have special needs people, so they coordinate with that. You can have scooters, you can have wheelchairs, you can have wheelchair assistants at the deck just coming on board and leaving, which is really important to a lot of people. And they can have access to a lot of different issues, especially nowadays with dining. They can accommodate any dietary need practically.
All of the cruise lines have things to do or things to know before you go on their site. And especially for first-time cruisers, I always advise them to check that list and make sure that you don't have anything that you're not supposed to have, and that you're bringing things aboard that you may need.
I was so confused. I had no idea how to find out what was going on. I was alone, so I didn't know anybody. And so I didn't know that they put a guide in your room that has a schedule, and that it tells you every second of the day where something is and what activities are going on. I just was lost, totally lost. So it's really important to look at your schedule and find out what's going on, and look at the maps. There's maps. Some cruise lines are even touch screen around the decks now, which is really nice. Some you just look at the deck plan. And Carnival has this great hub app that will let you see the deck plans wherever you are and see what's going on all the time, and let you chat with other passengers. It's been a very useful app for me on this trip.
A lot of people now want to bring water and sodas on board. You need to check each cruise line because they all have different requirements.